everybody, on this cold day. Things well?
You tell them.
Well, you had the briefing, so you got the Coles Notes version. Welcome, everyone. We okay to go? Excellent. Good day, everyone. Today I'm presenting the Fiscal and Economic Update from Budget 2023. I'm pleased to say that we are delivering on our goal of stabilizing the province's financial situation. Just over 3 years ago, when I became Minister of Finance, the projected deficit, the amount spent over the amount earned in 1 year, was over $2 billion. Today, it stands at $154 million, slightly improved as compared to what we have projected at Budget 2023. We are continuing to target a balanced budget by 24-25, 2 years ahead of schedule. As evidence that our fiscal plan is working, recently, the credit agency DBRS Morningstar upgraded government's long-term debt from A from A low and changed the trend on all long-term ratings to stable. This is the first time in 12 years that the province has received an upgraded credit rating and demonstrates that the province's financial situation is moving in the right direction. But we're not there yet. While there is still much work to be done, our success to date is as a result of the hard work of the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. We are delivering on our strategic plan for financial improvement, which ensures prudent fiscal governance and responsible debt management. To our fiscal update, starting with the oil price and exchange rate forecasts. In Budget 2023, we anticipated a Brent crude oil price of US $86 per barrel for 2023-24, and as of this fall update, we have adjusted our oil forecast to US $85. The Canada to United States exchange rate is now 74.3 cents, and this is based on independent forecasters. Revenues have increased by $204 million. This is largely due to offshore exploration forfeitures on 2 parcels in the Orphan Basin surrendered by Woodside Energy late last year. Most expenses remain the same as projected in budget, with a few exceptions, including increases to negotiations in the collective bargaining agreements. We've done 24 collective agreements representing about 30,000 public servants in the last year, and debt expenses due to rising interest rates. To ensure we have sufficient flexibility and liquidity in our cash position as recommended by credit rating agencies, we are expanding our borrowing program by up to $700 million. Through responsible debt management, we are addressing the province's long-standing and difficult debt burden, and we are doing so through effective treasury management, improved liquidity, optimizing investment performance, and contributing to our future fund. Approximately $300 million will be in the future fund by fiscal year end. The economic performance of the province shows growth in population, employment, and consumer spending. Population growth continued for the 10th straight quarter. On an annual basis, the province's population increased by 7,022 persons from July 1st of 2022 to July 1st of 2023, the largest annual increase since 1972. The population of Newfoundland and Labrador stood at 538,605 as of July 1st, 2023. Labour markets in particular have performed well, with positive employment growth and historically low unemployment rate. For the year as a whole, employment is forecast to increase by 2.2%, while the unemployment rate is forecast to decrease by 1.2 percentage points to average 10.1%. If realized, this would be the lowest annual unemployment rate since consistent records began in 1976. Consumer spending in the province has also been strong, with higher employment and solid economic performance. Many indicators, including retail sales, new motor vehicle sales, and some service sector measures, have performed well and continue to suggest persistent demand. Retail sales, which typically account for about 55% of the total consumer spending in the province, totaled $7.5 billion over the January to August 2023 period, compared to $7.2 billion over the same period in 2022. The number of new vehicles sold in Newfoundland and Labrador from January to August 2023 was 17,602, an increase of 5.8% compared to the same period in 2022. In the service sector, sales at food services and drinking places totaled $681 million over the January to August 2023 period, an increase of 14.9% compared to the same period last year. Consumer spending is expected to remain strong, with the value of retail sales forecast to increase by 4%. Newfoundland and Labrador's year-to-date inflation rate was tied with Alberta for the second lowest among provinces, behind Prince Edward Island. The year-to-date inflation rate for Canada as an average 4.1%. Inflation in Newfoundland and Labrador is expected to average 3.2%, down from the historically high annual rate of 6.4% in 2022. We're seeing much optimism in sectors throughout Newfoundland and Labrador. The wind hydrogen sector is expanding rapidly. 4 companies have been granted the exclusive right to pursue the development of their project on Crown land, while a 5th project is anticipated to be developed on private land. The construction, operations, and decommissioning phases, which ranged 35 to 40 years, of the 4 Crown land projects represents potential capital spending of $66 billion in the province and an anticipated overall economic impact to GDP of $206.2 billion. In the mining sector, work continues on the Voisey's Bay Mine Expansion Project. Champion Iron continues to explore the potential to develop the Kami Iron Ore Project in Labrador. Mineral exploration activities are expected to total $238.6 million in 2023, driven by continued gold mineral exploration in the island portion of the province and increased interest in critical minerals and rare earth elements. Lower than expected oil production so far this year has been mainly due to the delayed return to production of the Terra Nova FPSO. Oil production levels are expected to rebound in 2024 as Terra Nova returns to full production. In the aquaculture industry, production and the associated value is projected to increase significantly in 2023, and work continues to expand operations throughout the province. The province's technology sector is comprised of approximately 600 companies and 8,000 employees, and demand is expected to exceed 2,000 new technology jobs over the next 3 years. In support of the province's film and television industry, Budget 2023 provided $10 million for the film and television equity investment program, and increased the all-spend film and video production tax credit to 40%. In 22-23, production activity in Newfoundland and Labrador was over $97.5 million and supporting more than 1,600 full-time equivalent positions. We are making prudent investments while reducing our deficit. In Budget 2023, we prioritize the health of the residents of the province, physical, mental, financial, and economic. We are delivering the largest healthcare investment in the province's history of $3.9 billion. We are supporting economic growth and prosperity, including historic incremental investment in provincial highways and roads of close to $1.4 billion over the next 5 years. We focused on financial well-being with no new fees or taxes and with supports to help with the cost of living, all while ensuring strong fiscal management of the province. More than $500 million in targeted short and long-term measures have been announced since March of 2022 to help residents with the cost of living. Here are just a few of those measures. 8.05 cents per litre, including HST, reduction in the provincial gas tax for fiscal 23-24, the second lowest rate among provinces. A 50% reduction in the cost of registering passenger vehicles, light-duty trucks and taxis. We eliminated the retail sales tax on personal property insurance. We've provided free driver medicals for people 75 years of age and older. We have a home heating supplement that provides up to $500 to residents who currently rely on furnace or stove oil to heat their home. 15% increase to income supplement, a 15% increase to the seniors benefit, and of course, lower childcare costs from an average of $35 a day in 2020 to $25 a day in 2021 to today's $10 a day in 2023. In addition, we are supporting small businesses through initiatives designed to ease some of the day-to-day pressures that business operators experience, including increasing the exemption threshold of the health and post-secondary education tax from $1.3 million to $2 million, resulting in savings for 1,250 businesses and encouraging economic growth. We remain committed to our overall vision of a stronger, smarter, self-sufficient, and sustainable Newfoundland and Labrador. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Michelle Dewar, Deputy Minister of Finance. Glad to have you with me, Michelle.
Minister, a lot of, you painted a fairly rosy picture there of the economy, but a lot of people don't feel that their own economic situation is very good. Last year around this time, you offered $500 in terms of a direct check for people to help with the cost of living. What are you able to offer this fall in order to improve and help with that cost of living pressures that people face?
Well, certainly overall we're seeing good employment, strong employment in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. We're seeing, good economic indications across a wide variety of industries and sectors that I just named. So we're seeing strength in the economy. There are still, troubling signs. Obviously, inflation is still, high, and that's concerning. We've seen some decrease in housing, so that's concerning. I can say that this year we have a deficit of $157 million. That's what we're projecting to the year end. $154 million. I said that's what we're projecting to year end. Therefore, there is no additional monies available to give back to the people of the province. We've already providing over $500 million in terms of cost of living benefits back to the people of the province. So last year we had extra money from the oil and gas industry. This year we're not seeing that. Therefore, we're not able to provide the same check that we did last year.
The update talks about, quote, stronger than expected consumer spending, but then it goes on to say that changes in sales growth in most of the categories were due to changes in prices, such as higher prices for essentials. In your opening speech, you also spoke positively about increased consumer spending, but is that really such a good thing for everyday people?
Well, certainly we're seeing increased spending. We're seeing wages go up. We're seeing some, investments being made by the people of the province. You've heard overall, inflation is still a big concern for all of Canada, I'd say a lot of the world, and here in Newfoundland and Labrador, our inflation rate's slightly lower than what we're seeing across the country. But there is still a strong consumer spending, and we're still seeing growth in employment and growth in our in our sectors throughout the sectors in our economy. So I think that's positive for the people in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Minister, given the heightened focus and the crisis in housing right now, people will see this and see that housing is down significantly, interest rates, supply chains. But what, if anything, in the immediate term, when this comes out today, it's such a dichotomy from, increase in wages, increase in employment, things are good, we're on track. However, there's a great segment of population, including people out in tents, who don't have a place to live.
Yeah, it is difficult for a lot of people, and I'm not underestimating how challenging it is. That's why we've put $140 million in this year's budget towards supporting social housing. And you've seen some, fairly significant investments. But we're also helping with housing affordability. That's why we have the 5-point plan. And yes, housing starts are down. That's because, of course, interest rates are up. So we're seeing the effect of interest rates being up. That's why we're encouraging investors to invest in development. That's why in the 5-point plan, for example, we have the residential rental property rebate program. We have the home ownership assistance program. That's why we have the secondary and basement suite incentive. That's why we're putting the investments in those areas to ensure that we have a stronger housing availability.
GDP was down just a hair last year and is forecast to be down again this year. Are we in a recession now?
It's really interesting. It depends on your measurement. If I don't see us in a recession at all, and that's coming from our economists, we're seeing still very strong employment. Our employment actually is increasing this year. We're seeing good consumer spending. We're seeing strong sectors in our economy. We're forecasting the lowest unemployment rate recorded. So no, I don't see us in a recession, and I know you asked that question to the economist that was here a few moments ago. I don't see us in a recession. Our GDP is lower because of lower oil production, and I know the economists are saying you don't see that continuing into the future because, of course, we now know that Terra Nova, of course, will be back to full strength next year. We're still seeing a lot of development in our economy. Anything you'd like to add there, Michelle? I think they covered it. Yeah,
Covers it, yeah.
Minister, there's a lot of positive high-level indicators here in this update. If I'm an average Newfoundlander or Labradorian, my household income is up 4.4%, but I'm spending nearly 5% more on housing. I'm spending more than 8% more on food. So what are the positives that I'm looking for in my day-to-day life here from this update?
I think a couple of things. One, we have good, strong economic indicators across the economy. Employment continues to be up, so I think that's a positive thing. Very, very positive, I think, for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. Our inflation rate is declining. I'm still concerned about the inflation rate. It's at 3.2%, I believe, this year. So I'm still concerned about our inflation rate, but it is coming down. We're seeing some movement there. I think what you're seeing is a strong financial discipline on behalf of government. We are making investments, helping those that are most vulnerable, giving back to the people of the province as best we can, but also maintaining a very strong course as well. So I think all those are good positive things for the people of the province. And we're making investments, like I just talked about, in housing, both social housing and housing affordability, and we're giving back that over $500 billion in cost of living.
I want to ask you about the sort of perception, because normally if, the numbers you're talking about, like the lowest unemployment rate ever recorded, people would be feeling pretty good about the economy. But the public sentiment is quite different. Can you sort of explain, why do you think, a lot of people aren't feeling that they're in a good financial place when many of those economic indicators you talked about are quite positive?
Things have been challenging. Coming out of COVID, with the instability around the world, things have been very, very challenging. And we've seen inflation quite high. We've seen challenges in housing, in the housing sector. So those are impacting all of us day to day. But I can tell you that the economy, and This is based on a good economic analysis. Our economy is strong. We're still seeing good employment and record unemployment, which is very, very good. So I think we should be, as Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, proud of what we've been able to achieve in this province, notwithstanding that there are still struggles. Inflation is still up, housing is still down. So while those things are definitely impacting people day to day, I think overall we're seeing a stronger economy and strong employment.
You mentioned the future fund rising to near 300 million. Rising rates tacked 60 million onto our expenses. But rates might come down next year, and I think a lot of people are forecasting them too. I don't know when our next bond maturity is, but does it not make sense to use that money when interest rates may be at their peak?
It's about financial discipline. Imagine if we had the financial discipline 20, 25 years ago to take a portion of our non-renewable revenues and put them away. Imagine if we had that financial discipline to do that. We'd be in a completely different situation fiscally and economically, I think, in this province. So I think it's about financial discipline. We are earning money on the money that we're putting in our future fund. Matter of fact, I think it's about $4 million in the last 6 months. So while we are maybe borrowing to put it into the future fund, we're earning money on that. We're going to take that money. That's what, if you look at the legislation of the next 10 years, the only thing we can use that money for is paying down on debt. So as debt matures into the future, we'll have A, money set aside, B, have earned interest on that money and have it available to pay down on debt. So it sets us up for a better future. And boy, do we all want to have a better future in Newfoundland and Labrador. I said at the end of my remarks, that stronger, self-sufficient, sustainable Newfoundland and Labrador, this is one way that's helping us get there.
But I want to ask about that because this year you're having to borrow an extra $700 million that you weren't expecting. Why not just use that money to avoid having to borrow the money in the first place? Again,
Financial discipline. I'm saying that we're going to borrow up to, and we'll see how the year progresses, but we want to make sure we have the room there. We may borrow up to $700 million. It's going to improve our liquidity. Make sure that we're really looking at liquidity as one of the key drivers here. We're in the future fund, we'll have $300 million in that future fund by the end of this fiscal year. That's earning us money. As we mature, as things mature, we'll certainly look at whether or not we pay down that debt with the future fund, but we're earning money in that. So financial discipline is saying we're taking a small portion of our non-renewable revenues, things that aren't coming back, non-renewable revenues, and we're putting them in a fund and making sure that we're earning money on that fund so they have money to pay down on the debt maturity as they come due.
How much are you earning on that $300 million, and how much are new bonds costing you these days?
Well, allow me to say that we've earned $4 million in the last 6 months. I can tell you how much we're earning on that. Michelle, do you have those numbers? Or probably not
Yeah,
off the
so
top.
we're estimated about 5% on that, but 4 million since the last 6 months. But it's not 300 million in there at this point.
No.
The current balance is 161. So the additional, to get us to 300 million won't happen until the end of the year, right? Until we know where the revenue stands from an oil perspective. So there's 161 in the fund right now. We had originally 157, so we got an additional 4 million. With respect to where we are currently on rates, so a 5-year is about 4.7%, a 10-year is about 5%, and a 30-year is about 5.1%.
Do you have to measure those earnings against the opportunity cost?
That's how much we're spending.
That's how
We're
much new
paying,
debt
yeah.
would be.
Yeah.
That's how much new debt would be.
You have to weigh those earnings against the opportunity cost though, right? Like if a bond maturity comes up and it's less than 300 million and rates are, I don't know, what are 8%, but 2 years from now when you decide to pay off debt, they're at 4%, that's a loss compared to those earnings, right?
But remember, we're putting money away We're earning money on that money, and we're going to pay down debt as it matures. So, you know, we can talk numbers all day long about, you know, if you got 50 million in this or six, overall, we're going to be earning, and this is on the best projections from the Department of Finance, we're going to be earning several percentage points. We're going to be several percentage points to the good on this money over the period of time, because you can't take static points in time and say if you put this much in and that much out. I don't want to get into that kind of speculation. But our projections in the future fund is that we'll be earning several percentage points to the good, and we'll have that financial discipline.
What happens to the $300 million you made last year?
I'm sorry?
What happens with the $300 million you made last year?
$300 million we made last year?
Is there unexpected surplus?
Oh, okay. So last year we had an unexpected surplus, so that would have lessened the amount of money we would have had to have borrowed, or we gave it back to the people of the province in the cost of living. Okay.
No new rebates announced today, but one thing the official opposition has called for throughout the House being open is canceling the sugar sweetened beverage tax or rebating back the initial money made on the carbon tax. Was any thought put into that before this update?
Well, with regard to the carbon tax, and I'm really pleased to see that it's now no longer on home heat, and I think that that's a very positive move. And I give credit to the Premier for really working very hard and diligently to get that done. The $35 million we would have taken in the first quarter in carbon tax would have been part of that $500 million that we've given back in terms of cost of living. We lowered our gas tax. We lowered it to the second lowest in the country. Gave back 8.05 cents on every liter of gas. So that money is already dispersed into the economy, I'll call it that. With regard to the sugar sweetened beverage tax, look, I can tell you that the Canadian Cancer Society, the Canadian Diabetes Society, the World Health Organization, any of the learned groups that we have looking at our health are very much in support of a sugar sweetened beverage tax. We get most of our sugar in our diet from sugar sweetened beverages, and it is your choice. You don't have to pay the tax. Matter of fact, I encourage you not to pay the tax. You know, choose something that is not sugar-based and you don't pay the tax. So that money, the money from the tax, as was outlined in the budget, is already going back to help with a diabetes monitoring program, Kids Eat Smart, the food, the different programs that we have for school lunch. It's also being given back in the physical activity tax credit. So, you know, we're spending that money in those ways because we want people's well-being. We want their health. That way, that's all a part of the real vision that we have for the province of being the healthiest or one of the healthiest provinces in the country by 2031.
You mentioned those three groups who you said support the sugar tax. Have you heard from folks like other groups who don't support it?
In a general sense, the opposition doesn't support the tax. I've heard people who enjoy sugar sweetened beverages who are concerned about the tax, but in a general sense, all the expert groups, certainly the ones dealing with health, certainly are in support of it.
Yeah, one more on the future
Sure.
fund is, and maybe this is for Michelle, is that a money invested by officials in the finance department, or is it farmed out to like Providence or something?
The Department of Finance manages the future fund as well as the sinking funds of the province.
But there's legislation sets up a board that governs that fund, and the members are into legislation, and there's an investment policy approved by Treasury Board with respect to how those funds are invested, similar to our sinking funds.
Thank you, everybody. Happy Halloween. Sorry, I should have.
Oh gosh, just completely fine.
I gotta gather this.